Chapter 7, Part 7. So now we're going to continue our discussion of modes of production and turn to alienation and industrial economies. So by definition, a worker is alienated from the product of her or his work when the product is sold, with the profit going to an employer while the worker is paid a wage. A consequence of alienation is that a worker has less personal investment in the product, in contrast to the relationship existing between worker and product in non-industrial societies. So let's say, for example, I live in a non-industrial society. I live in a village or a tribe, right? And I make tables. Now, I would make that table from beginning to end. I would chop the tree down, I would remove the bark, I would shape the wood, I would paint it, I would decorate it. I'm involved in all aspects of making this table. In an industrial society, the author's arguing I would be more disattached from this item that I'm making because I'm only making just a part of it. Maybe my job is putting legs on tables and that's it. I put the leg on the table, next table. Put another leg on the table, next table. So I'm less invested in the thing that I'm making. Also, the thing that I'm making in an industrial society is being sold for a profit. That's not coming to me, right? I just make a wage. So that's one aspect of alienation in industrial economies. Industrial alienation may be generalized to include not only worker-product relations, but co-worker relations as well. So because we are paid a wage, we are not only less invested in the things that we make, the services that we provide, but also the people who we work with. Think of the jobs that you've had, and I'm sure you've become friendly with coworkers, maybe even close friends, but how many of them did you keep in touch with after you left your job? I'm sure there were a few, but overall, we don't maintain those relations with our coworkers after we leave those positions. In industrial societies, the economic domain stands apart from the ordinary social life. In other words, work life is separate from other aspects of our life for the most part, right? Work life is separate from family life, from friend life. While the relations of production, distribution, and consumption in non-industrial societies are social relations with economic aspects, so they overlap. My work life and my family life, my friend life, they all overlap in non-industrial societies. Okay, so what we've gone over so far is a discussion of production, right? For foraging, horticulture, agricultural, and industrialism. Now we're going to go to distribution. How is what is produced distributed, right? How do the things that are hunted, that are grown, that are herded, how do they get to the people who need to get them or want to get them? Economist Karl Polanyi defined three principles orienting exchanges: the market principle, redistribution, and reciprocity. In any society, the one of these that usually dominates is the one that allocates the means of production. In other words, the one of these that dominates in a society also is the one that dominates where and who the means of production goes to, like land, tools, etc. So the first one is the market principle, and that's the one we may be most familiar with. It's in effect when exchange rates and organization are governed by a monetary standard. Value is determined by the law of supply and demand. Bargaining, in which the buyer and seller both strive to maximize, is characteristic of market principle exchanges. The second form of distribution exchange is redistribution. In a redistributive system, goods, services, or their equivalents move from the local level to a central location where they are reorganized and a proportion is sent to the local level. And redistribution typically occurs in societies that have chiefs. So, for example, the local level would include families A, B, and C, and a part of what they grow goes through the central government, the leaders, the chiefs. They keep part of it, and another part of it is redistributed to other people over here. All right. So, redistribution. Reciprocity, an exchange between social equals, occurs in three forms, and you should definitely know these three: generalized, balanced, and negative. These forms can be placed on a continuum based on two questions: how closely related are the parties to the exchange, and how quickly and unselfishly are gifts reciprocated. Generalized reciprocity, which is usually associated with foraging societies, is most common among closely related exchange partners. So the exchange partners are closely related, socially speaking, and involves giving with no expectation of return. So people give and don't expect anything back. And generalized reciprocity is an aspect of foraging societies. Now, we have generalized reciprocity in our own culture. Think of instances where people give with no or little expectation of getting anything in return. Did you think of something? Well, the example I thought of was parental gift giving in contemporary North America. Parents often, very often, give their children lots of things, but with little or no expectation of getting anything in return. Balanced reciprocity, which involves more distantly related partners, entails giving with the expectation of an equivalent, but not necessarily immediate return. Now, if an exchange partner doesn't reciprocate appropriately, the social relationship may be strained. So, this is common among tribes, for example, where chiefs of tribes may give each other things, right? And they expect something back, not right away, but eventually, and something of the same value. And this practice of balanced reciprocity was a way of maintaining peace among communities, among different tribes. Now, we also practice balanced reciprocity. Think of instances where we give something and we expect something back, right, of the same value eventually, maybe not right away. Can you think of an example? One example might be birthday gift giving. If someone gives you a birthday, a friend gives you a present for your birthday, that friend might expect something from you when it's his or her birthday, right? And if you don't give that person a birthday gift, that social relationship may become strained. Think of wedding invitations, right? You get a wedding invitation, you go to the reception, you go to the party, have a good time. Now it's your wedding reception, you're organizing the guest list, and maybe you think of people who invited you, right? And you feel obligated to invite them as well. So, balanced reciprocity. Negative reciprocity associated with market economies involves very distant trading partners and is characterized by each partner attempting to maximize profit with an expectation of immediate exchange, as was the case with horse thievery among 19th century North American plain Indian tribes, as described in your textbook. Most economies are not exclusively characterized by a single mode of exchange. In contemporary US, for example, all three exchange principles coexist. And we discussed some examples of this. All right, part 8, the last part is up next.